All right, everybody, welcome to the Synapse Philosophy Group podcast. And we are on, this is a discussion. We are on D.D. Palmer's The Moral and Religious Duty of a Chiropractor, page 4. It's the very last two lines of page 3, and then we go to page 4, okay? I am tentative to wait. We have some more people from Mexico that said they were going to come, but 8:05 we start and we're going to keep going, okay? We got Fernando here, and I see Marina from Brazil, so we're going to keep moving forward, all right, everybody? And I'd like to say, too, I found my outlines for 1910, and I'm outlined up to about page about 500. And we might start doing this once we get a little more finished with this chapter, which we've done already. We're going to start digging deeper into 1910 as well, okay? And D.D. Palmer's book here. And what I've done there is take out, if you don't know, it's the chiropractor's adjuster. And what he does is get, David, you look like you're in the gym there. That's a good one. So what he does is there's different writings by chiropractors and newsletters and different things, and he corrects them. It's adjusting the chiropractor back on track. So some of it's a little difficult to read. And it's actually a little bit confusing to readers. So what I'm doing is just taking out all the DD stuff, and I'll share it when I have it. And maybe I'll do it with what I have. And then we'll go from there, and then we just break down some of Dee Dee's material. Sound good? Okay. So does anybody have any news or anything like they'd like to clear up before we start? Or would you like me just to get going? Get going is what it is. All right. So the last two lines of page 3, chiropractic science includes biology, the science of life in this world, and the recognition of the spiritual existence in the next. The principles which compose it are substantive in their independence and incentive to human and spiritual progress. They originate in divinity, the universal intelligence, and constitute the essential qualities of life which have begun in this world and are never ending. Did I read that last time? I don't think so. So there's a lot of spiritual content in that, where he's talking about this world and the next. What do you guys get out of that?
How can he know about what's next?
Anybody have any answers for Stephen? I think we kind of touched on, is it, if we're thinking about in a multiverse, now they're talking about the neural system, the string theory, we're talking quantum physics. Pasquale talked about his spiritual friends. His spiritual friends need us as much as we need them. And are they spirits in heaven? Are we talking about a heavenly existence? Go ahead, Bob.
Well, according to Dee, he got his information from a man he called Jim Atkinson, who had lived 50 years earlier. So I interpret that to mean he's not alive anymore. And so he might have gotten that information from someone who did die and move on. And Jim Atkinson also mentioned that he got his information from people that were beyond his understanding. So I don't know if you believe that's the way it came about. That might be how he got his link into knowledge of what world goes on beyond this one.
There's been some talk on the history page recently about this as well, where not this directly, but talking about that D.D. and A.T. Still were both spiritualists, which was very popular and very important in that time. And we now, as Haig, you were saying, are starting to try to put pieces together of things. Science is catching up some of the things that have been talked about for a long time that have never been understood. But almost every religion talks about spirituality and other beings and other and senses across contacts, and we can talk about how innate talks to us, and is that within us, or is that something outside of us talking to us? Or we talk about innate to innate, and so if we can talk across my innate to your innate, or a patient on the table, why shouldn't I be able to also contact somebody else's spirit that is, if it remains defined in transition?
Well, I'm sorry. I was just questioning the word next, because to me, there's no doubt that the future, the people are saying that time is a construct of our own perceptual intellect, that there is no future and there is no past. And then, Atkinson, who spoke to him, is in the here and now in reality. So that's what I'm just talking about, is next being, is a time delusion.
Anyone else? Anybody have any input? I think what he's also really is connecting his philosophy, where he starts really understanding chiropractors are working with our inner intelligence, the spiritual intelligence, the what he began to call innate, and started delving in through that. And when we're connecting to innate, in his logical way, the next step would be understanding what is beyond that, which would be the hereafter, is what he talks about. You're going to say something, Stephen? Go ahead.
No. It's just innate intelligence being infinite includes it all.
Let me read the next paragraph. It goes in a little more depth about that. It is an educational, scientific, religious system. It associates its practice, belief, and knowledge with that of religion. It imparts instruction relating both to this world and the one to come. Supreme spiritual enlightenment upon physical life and spiritual existence, the latter being only a continuation of the former. It's a lot of heavy stuff in there. And books could be written on those 4 lines, you know what I mean? And what we're really, I really feel the better I'm adjusted, the more spiritually connected I am, just the way I feel. And I feel when we are limiting ourselves into not just musculoskeletal, of I'm moving the bone and healing is the outcome, but spiritual growth. If I'm under stress, right, what am I being inhibited from? Growth. Bruce Lipton said a cell cannot be in growth and in defense at the same time. And that's with the whole being, actually. We can't be in growth and defense at the same time. Once we help transformation to begin, that transformation is ultimately spiritual growth, in my mind. Anybody else? If you would like, I can read that Atkinson quote right here, if you'd like. It's right on the next page. The knowledge and philosophy given me by Jim Atkinson, an intelligent spiritual being, together with explanations of phenomena, principles resolved from cause, effects, powers and laws, and utility, appeal to my reason. The method by which I obtained an explanation of certain physical phenomenon from an intelligence in the spiritual realm is known in biblical language as inspiration. The word inspiration is defined as to bring in spirit. That last sentence is really what makes it more grounded for me, because we all get inspiration. Sid Williams, one of his inspirations is he saw a gingerbread man, and the gingerbread man had an arrow through his atlas, And from that point on, he knew the atlas was the thing, and he focused on the upper cervical. You know, he could have called this gingerbread man, right? So inspiration, I feel, comes in many ways. What do you guys feel? First thoughts. What's the first thing that comes to your head? Go ahead, Mara.
It's kind of what we touched on last week with hope and giving patients hope. So that might be the inspiration that's needed for patients themselves, and like the hope of delivering your, like when you tell them about the innate and how they can heal themselves and how they have the ability to do that, which gives them hope. And that's the first thing that comes to mind.
That's awesome. Absolutely.
What comes to mind for me is BJ said the adjustment is made when his hand leaves the spine. And we know that that concussion of force, innate, which is non-physical, is what's making the adjustment. So we're talking about what is really the healing force. And it's coming from the non-physical spiritual realm.
Yeah, I love it. Anybody else?
I think that last line, chiropractic sheds enlightenment upon physical life and spiritual existence, the latter being only a continuation of the former. It echoes something we've said in the past, that we're not human beings having a spiritual experience, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And that it's that crossover is expressed in that statement well before any of us ever thought about it.
Very poignant. Absolutely right on target. Anyone else want to express themselves, have something to say? Because that means a lot, really, Alan. And, you know, we are greater, more powerful than we're telling ourselves very often. And same with the people that we serve. And to help them understand, listen, there's far more innate than there is physical. Because if you take the spirit out of this body, you just have a blob of material. It's the spiritual is the animator, which is God. And, you know, helping us understand this is the difference of, you know, living just on this mechanical plane of materia, then realizing there is, and I would prefer to live this way and know there is a bigger thing than what I see with my eyes, spiritual, and the spiritual journey, heaven and earth, God is a lot more exciting and interesting in my world. Yeah, right on target. Awesome. Anybody else? I'm going to read the next line then, okay? Chiropractic literature makes use of such technical terms as are calculated and enlightened mankind, as are calculated to enlighten mankind in regard to the universal intelligence, which the Christian world has seen fit to acknowledge as God. It enables its disciples to recognize the above facts and teaches them how to adjust their lives accordingly. So what he's talking about is understand in Christianity, and that's what he's relating it to in many, many other religions, that there is something greater than this physical world, a spiritual realm, heaven, okay? And that's what he seems to be alluding to. Would anybody else agree to that? Yeah. You have any insights on that or any clarification? Okay. The casual thinker is obliged to admit that the universe is composed of intelligence and matter, that the latter is neither intelligent nor creative, while the former is omnipresent, filling all spaces, that this creative intelligence uses material substances for expression, and that life is the direct result of this intelligence, seeking advancement towards perfection by the use of visible corporeal organisms. Gorgeous. I mean,
there you go.
Gorgeous. It's basically what Alan said, right? But that's D.D. Palmer. And with each adjustment, we're bringing people to a higher level of spirituality so they see their spiritual existence for what it is. Thank you, God, to me. Wow. That's where chiropractic came here. I mean, we can all go home now. Anybody have any insights? But don't go home yet. Anybody insights want to say anything? All right, well, I'll continue then. But I want to keep that whole, that little paragraph right there. It's like 6 lines or something. I might put that as a post because that is just beautifully and well said. Man, and now we've spent a lot of time with Pasquale and some other ways and about duality. Man is a dual entity composed of intelligence and matter, spirit and material, immortal and mortal, the everlasting and the transient. The manifestation of such an existence is intelligent action. That's innate. If we think it's just random out there, right? All these things have randomly happened, just throw it up in the air and all pennies landed on their edge. Possible, but it's this thing is far too intelligent. Anybody have any insights? Anybody like to talk about anything? About this or anything else? Go ahead, Fernando.
I think that's one of the biggest reasons that chiropractic is, well, it's not the same as a traditional medicine or any other healthcare, because it is involved everything. It's not just the body, is the nervous system, is not just the nervous system, it's also the conscious. It's not also the conscious, but the spiritual.
Yeah.
The spirit of the people.
Yep.
I'd like to go back and let's stick a little bit. We kind of skipped over this that can be pondered for maybe a lifetime. That matter is neither intelligent nor creative, while the former, talking about intelligence, is omnipresent, filling all space. Matter is neither intelligent nor creative. Yet we are in history right now looking for matter to be the cause. And we know that the cause is not in the matter, and the cure is not in the matter. And the matter is what, 1/10 of 1/10000000th of a percent of what of all that exists. Most of this is space, spirit. But that sentence is like, heavy duty.
Yeah.
Matter is not creative. That's why looking to the body for the cure is like putting the cart before the horse. And it's almost like building a golden calf, man. It's an idol. The practice of that compared to hooking up to cause.
Does matter reproduce?
Not without intelligence.
Not without intelligence. Not without spirit. Marina gave you a thanks, Steve. That was really nice. If everybody sees that in the comments down here. Anyone else? I have a thought. Years ago, I heard, when people were searching for the reason why some indigenous tribe had a health, they were healthy for some reason. And the spirit guide, or the medicine man, people start calling them, said it's the spirit in the trees or spirit in the plant. And in our very limited, you know, what we would call modern way of thinking, well, it must be a molecule. It must be the vitamin C or vitamin A, or you might want to extract this thing from the leaf. But they said it's the spirit. That's the part we're missing. That's why people don't get well. They just get sicker. We were forgetting about the spiritual portion of that matter. But that stuck with me for such a long time. That's why, you know, when you see you need vitamin C, you need vitamin A, well, you need a living thing. It's the spirit within that thing, the life, that creates the abundance of health within. Anybody
The
else?
thing is, though,
go ahead.
yeah, well, in the practice, the daily practice, my patients think the problem is in that physical subluxation. And I'm not going to go telling them, listen, the problem is not in the matter at all. That's not the problem. The problem is in your mind. I'm not going to say that. The problem is you know, so we work with where people are at and where we're at to a certain, none of us are free completely. As long as we have bodies, there's still, you know, we have to deal with it on that level. So I know I got to be careful when I get too heady in my communication. Like, what, we can talk with each other like this.
That's why we do
it. Yeah.
I'll tell you a story. I had a young kid come in, and you know, I said, you know, the things you're dealing with now are coming from within. They're from you, not happening to you. And then he yelled at me. This kid jumped. You mean it's all in my head? You're telling me it's all my fault? Blah blah blah. I said, calm down, pal. Calm down. But like you were talking about, Steve, it was too much for him. He was looking for his problem. All I had to do is say, let me help you. I can help you. You're in the right place, right?
Right, in the right place.
So a lot of this stuff might be too much for a lot of people, but, you know, for us to break it down, they don't have to know Pasquale used to say that too. You don't have to tell them. They don't need to know about this. They've got life to live. But the deeper you go into spirituality, you're passing on those codes to them. Go ahead, Bob.
We have, as we're called, a dual entity. We're physical, we're spiritual. And the spiritual seemingly is more encompassing in existence than the physical. So it seems like that it's no wonder that our innate, which is the spiritual part of us, is always striving to keep the vehicle, the physical part, running well. And I think that's what's so interesting about it, is that it wants to have that physical experience, and it wants his vehicle to run well.
Yeah.
I'm going to go a little weird on you guys, so bear with me here.
We're used to it, Alan. Don't worry.
We're not so weird. I regularly take walks in what around here called Rock Creek Park and different places in the park, and I've become aware of a number of trees that have been damaged, and I wind up walking to the park. I'm trying to be aware of what's going on around me, and I'm aware of these trees, and I talk to the trees, and I feel something for them, and periodically I reach out and touch some, and some are really damaged, and yet they're still alive. I mean, I'll try to remember to post something that you can put up on the site. There's a tree that has a hole in it that's but it's still growing. And recently, I was going through a particular stressful situation. I'm president of my homeowners association. We have a really difficult person here, and it was not to go too far down that road, but I was going through a really difficult time, and I was really upset. And I was out taking one of my walks, and I came across one of the trees that I've talked to a number of times, and I reached out and touched this tree, and I literally. You guys know when you reach out to touch patients, sometimes you'll feel something transmit between you and the patient through your hands. And I can sometimes feel things as I'm touching these trees. And I just stopped by this tree, and I was lean, and I had never done this. I just felt like I needed to just lean on the tree. It's a big, big trunk on this tree that's bent over like 45 degrees over the creek. And as I stood there, just in that moment I don't know how long I stood there, and it felt as if the tree reached out to me, going back to what you were saying about native cultures. And I was healed. I mean, I just felt different afterwards, and the spirits are there that the native cultures talked about that we've blocked out in our culture. And it was a remarkable thing for me. And hopefully some of you can accept part of that story. And if you can't, that's okay too.
No, it's actually scientific. Today I posted something on trees from a woman who did this documentary called Intelligent Trees. It's on Prime Video. And these trees talk to one another. When one tree gets sick, neighboring trees through the roots give carbon and nutrition and sharing. And an aspen can give to a pine tree. And she traced things. It's called Intelligent Trees. And I really think you should watch it.
I'll have to go look for that. So thank you for letting me share, guys. That was hard to do.
Not weird at all, man.
No, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mara, I got you right there. Go ahead.
Just to comment on the tree thing, in my religion, we believe that trees pray as well. So they're also connected with the spirit world.
It's all connected.
It's all connected. Just comment on the side.
If God is in all things, He wouldn't leave the trees out. Every time we plant something in the yard, we spend a moment with that tree and give it encouragement and hold it. And as we're planting it, and especially if it starts having trouble, we sit and we pray with it, and we bring it. And I've seen them get greener, it seems, nearly immediately. And the healing from the tree to Alan, I think that's such a beautiful blessing. And thank you for sharing that. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Thomas, thank you for joining us. Anybody like to have any input on that?
I believe that he's connecting with the tree's innate intelligence. We talked about this at Green Book Study at New Beginnings with Skip George and Bob Crystal. He was there. Reggie Gold was there. Squally was there. And we brought up a question one time: whose innate intelligence is more advanced, the one of a tree or the one of a human? But that being said, I believe that he truly connected with the innate intelligence, and it could have healed him. 100% what he said, I'm on board with.
Thank you. Yeah.
Which one is more intelligent? I think they're the same.
Yeah.
It's the educated that's different now. The educated is the dum-dum, really, right? I always say it's fatally
educated is what keeps us from linking to the other.
And that's what all of BJ's teachings were really all about. So we can put the educated aside and listen more intently to innate, and it's our choice to act. That's the educated. If we act properly, there's less thinking involved. That's what we get to with BJ. Anybody else? I will continue to read. All right. Chiropractors, especially, are aiding in this great advancement by adjusting the osseous structure, the position of which has to do with determining normal and abnormal tension. For in whatever part function is abnormally performed, tonicity is either lacking or excessive. Creative intelligence is prevented from expressing itself normally. Many a child has been injured at birth by a vertebral displacement which causes impingement upon one or more spinal nerves. As they emanate from the spinal canal, the fibers of which are distributed to certain organs. The result of this excessive tension is physical or mental debility, often both, which from a lack of pathological knowledge may be lifelong. The mental defect extending even into the next world. For we retain only that which has been acquired during this earthly preparatory existence. By properly adjusting the neuroskeleton, these unfortunates may be enabled to acquire sufficient knowledge, rightfully due them, to become useful members of society and enjoy life in the world and the one to come. The chiropractor who can accomplish the above desired result and refuses to do so as a religious duty may be compelled to perform it as a moral obligation. This is where he gets into religious duty here and moral obligation, bringing what we acquire in this world to the next. Now that's really kind of new, where the Bible says a rich man, can't enter the kingdom of heaven. It's easier for a camel to pass through an eye of a needle, right? What do you guys think of that large paragraph? There's quite a bit there, but what's on your mind?
I think the adjustment of the osseous structure is a conjuring and an invitation. It's a come innate, asking innate to come. That's what before, that's why you hesitate. You get in that non-mental spot. And what we're doing is when we're giving the osseous adjustment, we're also, I don't know if the word is conjuring or romancing in a, come on and come do your thing. Don't you guys do that when you give an adjustment? Don't you kind of like open up and invite innate spirit as you vibrate the osseous structure? Not to make the osseous structure, because the osseous structure is neither creative nor intelligent, but we put our hand on it, but we become resonant through the breath, through the non-thinking. So to me, it is a religious act.
I agree. Anyone else?
I've talked to people about it as, and maybe I've tried to talk to practice members about it as, if you, have you ever been in a crowd, really noisy crowd, and all of a sudden you hear somebody say your name, whether it's somebody that's calling you or not, and how did you hear that out of that crowd? Or you think about I think I'm mixing two of my stories together. I'm sorry. If you think about the fact that if I say to you, and each of you think about this for a second, I'm going to tell you something, to say something in a second, and you're suddenly going to be aware of something, and you go, how did I not know that a second ago? How did I not feel that? And I'm going to say you're wearing a shirt, suddenly you feel it on your body again, and you didn't a minute ago. What happens is that what we call the reticular activating system pays attention to what it needs to pay attention to. And over time it goes, oh, well, that's there, I don't have to pay attention. And when you adjust somebody, it's like saying it arouses innate. It says, there's an area here that's not getting all the data that it needs.
Wow.
Do you want to pay attention here? And it's like calling the name, and innate goes, oh, wait, I hadn't been thinking about that. It was kind of stuck and I couldn't do anything. And now you're saying, maybe I can. And it comes back over and says, okay. And that's oversimplified for practice members, but it's interesting to think about it and say, it's shut down. Can you pay attention here? Oh yeah, let's make a change.
Great example.
Yep. Anybody else? Go ahead, Maura.
The thought that came to my head was when he's talking about the child that's injured during birth. So if you don't get children adjusted at a young age, then they're physically not going to be able to grow into like life without having any issues, without getting sick. And then mentally, they're going to be probably, I'm not like saying slower, but they're not going to be aware. They're not going to be at a higher level just because they're not being adjusted as children and they're not aware of the innate. And then maybe that will lead to them not connecting with spirits later on because they weren't accepting innate as they were born. I don't know if I worded that correctly in any ways.
I get what you're saying.
Okay.
I just had I had a new practice member come in, and she had muscular dystrophy. She's born with muscular dystrophy, severely wounded at birth, and she was adopted, and her adopted parents worked her so she could function in life. And muscular dystrophy, I've had lots of people, with severely, limited function, and she has a master's degree now. And she works at the high school as a counselor. And she said, I've done so much work, so hard to get through my disabilities. I don't feel fully spiritually connected, and somehow is guided to chiropractic in your office. She said those exact words. I almost fell on the floor. Okay. I was nearly in tears when she's telling me her story of achievement. It was just truly amazing, right? And then she said that, and then I adjust her, and she said, whoa, I'm in the right place. It made me feel I've been doing the right thing. Of all the years now, that one woman who's gotten her 5th adjustment, I think today, that was just truly amazing. And I think the more we become connected in this and break this down and understand ourselves more, because just talking through it helps me understand it myself, we're vibrating at a much higher level. All of us are going to attract such a higher vibration in this connection. And this is healing for chiropractic and personally for myself, so I can serve more at a higher level. And I want to thank all of you for it. Okay, anybody else?
I'm going to say this, but, I retired recently, and I feel like this is the time for me to serve even more.
Yeah. Great.
That's pretty weird.
And we're all blessed for it. Thank you, Stephen.
How do you mean? Serve more how? How does he
Because the adjustment is made from innate to the physical. I feel like my care is now on more of a subtle level. I'm not actually doing the physical adjustment, but I'm doing the adjustment by me being adjusted mentally, physically, and it radiates. We do not, none of us exist alone. It's impossible. We're all in the web of life. My mom died 2 weeks ago. She's just as much present. She's not gone. I don't really miss her. I miss talking to her. But the idea is that what is doing the adjustment? What is doing the adjustment?
On that line, and following up on Haig, isn't it what we do here on a weekly basis? We're adjusting each other. And in this moment, as we talk and we share, that we have our spiritual connection is enhanced because we're involved in this, and as we share verbally, we're reconnecting and we're adjusting ourselves and moving to a different spiritual space that's more connected.
And my tree's right outside the window. My tree thanks you.
That's great. Anyone else? Well, I'm going to leave with a closing thought then. And, I've said this before, and sort of all this leads into it, is that spirit is talking to us through the nerve system, the neural system, and then the structural system of the people. And if we are adjusting, they said 17% of the subluxations come from outside of the body. The rest come from innate expressing a subluxation, an ASRA or a PI ilium or whatever it is, coming from within. So that's God talking to us through that innate system, telling the chiropractor, serve me here. As we start to grow, for me, I see that as thank you. That's a guidebook. I can leave my educated out of the way. Spirit's going to tell me how to serve. I trust you to serve me this way. That's why it's each one of us finds a different subluxation in the same person. Serve me here. That's a direct link to the spirit realm. To me, that's what I fully see, and I'm really starting to understand that with innate intelligence. The more that I grow, that I'm getting messages, potentially, if we want to call it like the other side, like he says, but I say from God through innate to the physical, so I am able to serve that being in front of me of what it truly needs from me or through me. So that was my thought of where I've picked up over the past year or so studying D.D. Palmer, and it's culminated to that right now. Anybody else? Rob, go ahead. Oh, sorry, Alan.
Bob, go ahead. No, Bob, go ahead.
It's so interesting what you're talking about, because
You're not on.
Yeah, you are.
it's so interesting what you're talking about, because I was thinking about it even today. You know, you walk into a room and there's someone there to get served, and it's almost like you already know what you're going to do before you even check them.
Yeah.
And I think checking them actually ends up just, in some educated way, confirming something that you already knew.
Yeah. We got to get out of our own way. Even like you said that last time or time before about the people, that you just knew exactly what to do. Were you adjusting like some people? Was it at 9/11 or something, Bob? You told that story?
It was at a woman's health fair.
Right. Well, Alan, you want to go ahead?
Well, it's two quick things, because Bob said something made me think that I know in my practice development, my first chiropractor was a DNFT practitioner, directional knock force technique, and so he had studied with Van the Innate Man, Van Rumpt, and I actually got to take one seminar with Van myself, and so he talked to feet. Well, I wound up going through various techniques, and I was upper cervical specific and toggle and Thompson technique and activator, and I came back around to some DNFT and to MC2. And when I went to that, I started talking to feet more. It was always leg checks, but I'd go back through and at first I'd have to go and I go through and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and check all the way down through the spine. But I would go back and do activator checks to validate what I had seen or what I had felt, because I feel things when I touch feet. And I wanted that other affirmation until I just got to, I know that when I feel it, or I go through and the feet tell me this is it, I know that I know at that point. And it took me time to convince myself, my educated brain, get it out of the way to be able to accept what was being shown to me and that I saw and was feeling. The other thing I wanted to say real quickly was that quote about human spirit versus spirit in a human is not original with me. And actually, I just recently found that it was originally by a gentleman named Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, who was a Jesuit priest and a philosopher in the he died in 1955. So that's his time frame was the 1880s to 1955, and that came from somebody else. That's not mine originally, and I don't want to take credit for it.
Thank you for that clarity.
I love it. It's a great quote, and I love it. And I'm glad to find out who actually said it first.
I always thought it was a rock and roll song I heard a while ago.
That would work for me.
Absolutely. Awesome. All right. I mean, in reality, that's why I named my workshop a Nate Adjusting Workshop, you know? So that's it. All right, guys. Anybody, any last bits? We're going to work
Thank
through
you all.
the rest of this. And then, you know, we're going to start on 1910. Okay? This is a juggernaut. And it's exciting. If anybody knows how to help me, I did it once on the Mexican page, and I pinned the 1910 on the page at the beginning in a PDF, and I can't figure out how to do it again. So if anybody knows how to do it, and also to make our Synapse group where we can make it open and change the privacy so people, Alan's had posts to put on there, and I want people to be able to post, and somehow I haven't figured it out yet. I got to spend some time. So
Maybe they have it listed as, maybe because it's a blog that other people can't post to it.
Maybe, but I think there's a privacy setting in it. I need to spend the time to do it. I haven't had actual time to do it, but I'm going to really work harder on getting those things, because I'd like to inspire, if someone wants to read something, just post it, you know, some discussion about chiropractic or philosophy. So we'll work on that. So anybody wants to help me, I'm open to it. Anybody else? Go ahead, Fernando.
Well, if you have any problems uploading the book, I can help.
Awesome. I have the PDF. You can help me do it. I appreciate that. Awesome. Yeah. And then everybody can have a copy. Go ahead, Mara.
I want to go back to what Dr. Allen said earlier. I think I'm going through that right now in clinic, where I would palpate, but then I also use a nervous scope down the back to just confirm what I felt, to see if there's a break there also. And is there like a way to break out of that habit, or just continue doing it?
Do it until you're comfortable, right? The nervous scope is validating what you're feeling. Mm-hmm. Right, the activator link, the things that they were validating, things that I knew, but and the more I did it, and then sometimes I would do the other checks to validate, and sometimes not. And now mostly, I use what I feel with my hands, and I do it, and I just ask the feet and go about my business. So just keep doing it until you're comfortable.
Alan, right? Tell her how long you were in practice.
33 years. I'm 70 years old.
That's amazing.
I went to Sherman. I started at Sherman. I graduated from Life in 1982.
I'm also trying to break out of the habit of chasing pain.
Yeah, that's trying to make them happy.
Yeah.
That's what chasing symptoms is. You have to find the balance between helping them feel better and understanding that the symptoms are not the problem. The symptoms are the alarm system going off. But the fire alarm isn't the fire. The pain is not the problem. It's just telling you that there's something going on.
As you go through your journey,
the pain goes away before the problem is healed, all the time.
As you go through your journey, you'll pick up so much of who you are within this chiropractic and how you're connecting with people. Your journey is the amazing part of it, and it's very exciting. That's a great bit of insight for yourself that you're noticing. I think that's beautiful.
And Mara, thank you, Mara, for being willing to ask. And we're here to support you, and never be afraid to ask us something, because we're not going to here to help.
And Mark, trust your voice on the inside.
That's what we're working on, I think, through this whole thing, is trust and hope.
I don't worry too much about whether people are coming in pain, because they almost all are at my office. However, I can tell you this. Thank God for that, because that might be the only reason they ever came for an adjustment.
That's right.
There's a reason why. It's divine. Absolutely. All right, everybody, we reached our time. Okay. Invite your friends, send this around. I'm a little behind in some of the posting of these. Just my 90-year-old mother's moved in with me and she takes a little bit more time for me. But I'm going to start getting these things out and posting them on the Synapse page. And I post them on my personal one as well. But invite your friends, bring people in. The right people are here all the time anyway, all right?
Thank you, bro. This is a real happening.
It was great. That was a great one tonight. God bless y'all. I love you, and I'll see you next week, all right?
Thank you all.
Thank you.